Cruz alongside the top dog. Truth be told, I had a little false start. We tried to shoot our open before, and I just rolled with it. Didn't give you any chance to bark, bud.
Right. And then it was so funny because then you're looking at me like I'm crazy, and I felt like you was getting ready to scream at me because I didn't bark. And I'm like, Gab, I'm waiting on you to set me up, but you never set me up with that bark. So
Piercing bark for us today, Hanford. We've got a ton of NFL playoff talk upon us.
And I'm in one of my moods today because for a couple of reasons. Because this is at this time of year, and I've said it before, I just get really, really excited and really, really sad at the same time because I miss playing at this time. That's why I find it so hard. I understand that there's a few teams left, and I feel bad for each team that lose because I know it's the end of the season for those teams, and
such an emotional thing.
Yeah, and you see them, and you see the coaches, and when it's obvious that they're not going to win the ball game, you could just see the emotions just pour out of these guys. And like in Detroit, did you see?
Yeah, I was so bummed that.
Pat, did you see that? That was tough on him, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was brutal, guys. Yeah, Dan Campbell. You just kind of thought that the Lions were the team of destiny, but then you run into someone like Jaden Daniels. He's got nothing to lose, And
Pat, I don't blame him for losing that game, but
they just got beat,
and he got very emotional. Yeah. And I'm telling you, in those locker rooms after that, because we lost 3 AFC Championship games, 3 of them. And I'm telling you, it was just brutal. I mean, it was just brutal. What just the effect that have on the players.
I'm sure Ozzy, your boy, is in a little bit of isolation now, recovering.
He is. I mean, we, I haven't talked to him yet, and he's. I guarantee you, he's still trying to digest the whole thing and going over it in his mind, and obviously not only him but Lamar and the other teammates and Harbaugh and the coaches and Bisciotti, the owner. It's just you go back and you look at everything that happened, and you can't turn the ball over. You just can't turn the ball over. You can't turn it over in the regular season, but you really can't do it in the playoffs. And talking about the Baltimore Ravens, obviously they had 3, I think it was 3 turnovers, might have been more, but I know it was at least 3. And then the thing that really hurt, you look at the Buffalo Bills, they didn't have any. They played pretty much a free turnover game, and that was the difference in the ball game. Because Josh Allen, for instance, I mean, he didn't do anything really great in that ball game. I mean, he didn't throw the ball. He didn't have that many yards rushing, but they did what they're supposed to do, and you have to do that in order to win the ball game. But anyway, we're going to jump a little bit more in that.
Yeah, we'll get a little more into that. One of the things I wanted to ask you was, I was texting you, I got a new TV.
Yeah.
Big TV I got for Christmas.
I was so excited for you.
And I'm watching the game, and I invited Papa Cruz over to watch the Chiefs-Texans game with me.
Did you guys have a little pop watching the game? Did you have him a glass of wine or beer or something?
I had me an Ollie Pop.
Okay.
Papa Cruz had like I don't even know what it was, but yeah, of course Papa Cruz brought something over.
Right.
Garage beer.
Yeah.
But one of the things, so I'm watching the TV kind of a little passively at this point, but it's early in the game, and I was going to ask you about the Chris Boyd getting into it with his special teams coach, who is also a John Carroll alum. He played at John Carroll and was a coach at John Carroll, Frank Ross. And Pat and I were talking about it. He was featured, honestly, or went a little viral on social media a couple weeks ago, or
yeah, 2 weeks ago. In the wild card round, when the Texans they blocked an extra point, returned it for 2. Did you see that?
Yeah.
So they had an unbelievable day on special teams, blocked punts, the whole deal. He was running up and down the sideline, Gab. The energy was phenomenal.
This guy brings so much energy to the job. And it was just became one of those things that circulated on social media. Was the shove to Frank Ross, sportsmanlike or not? I mean, he had thrown his helmet after the play, and then ran over and shoved his coach. And what is your stance on, because we see Travis Kelce, he's shoving Andy Reid when he's riled up. So is this just emotions
different
in playoffs, or is this a different scenario?
Travis was different. I mean, that was a little bit different. But let me say this. And in both circumstances, I think by no means do you ever disrespect a coach like that. You never put a coach on the spot. You never. It was like embarrassing to not only for the coach but for him, because I mean I don't care what a coach did or what a coach said to me. We can deal with it inside the locker room if we have a problem, but we're not going to do it right there on the field. And for him to run up and do that to his coach, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, what the hell is he doing? What the hell is going on? And I could see why that whole thing went viral. And some of the comments, I didn't read any of them or anything like that, but I can imagine if it was any players, anybody like that responding to what happened, I guarantee you most of them will say the same thing I said. You just don't do that, especially in a game like that. I mean, it shows like a weakness, I think, in a certain part of the team, and especially with him, because it would be interesting to see whether or not he went back in the ball game, but if he played any more of that game, because I guarantee you there was some repercussions.
He went
Gracie's Park, guys, it was the opening kickoff.
Yeah.
It's the first play of the game.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah.
What missed assignment? I understand that the Chiefs returned it 60 yards or whatever, 70 yards.
Yeah.
But 15 yards on top of it for throwing the helmet.
Right.
Yeah.
What did you miss in that play? I just don't understand it.
Oh, I get
wild stuff. We just like to talk about some of the different things
well,
around the game. I wanted to get your
and again, I get mad every time I think about it, but I thought it was just totally disgusting. And again, I'll say it again. You never, 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 never do that to a coach. You push your coach or embarrass your coach or hit your coach or anything like that. You don't do it even after you get in the locker room, but you definitely don't do it on the field.
You heard it from the top dog. We're going to take our first break of the show. We'll be back with more Hanford Dixon show right after this. Welcome back to the Hanford Dixon Show. It is time to bring in our Garage Beer featured interview, a friend of show from the Big Play Cleveland show, and it's nice to have him here on our Hanford Dixon Show. Welcome, former running backs coach for the Cleveland Browns. We've got Stump Mitchell, and of course, a 10-year career in the NFL as a player. We're so excited to have you on and get some of your thoughts here on our Cleveland Browns organization and just seeing what you're up to.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, one of the things we were talking about before we got on here was your experience as the running backs coach and how liked you are and the charisma that you bring to the job and what it was like working with Nick Chubb.
Oh, well, having the opportunity to play in the league for 10 years and coaching it another 22 years, that's over half of my life. It was great being both a player with the guys that I play with and also coaching the guys that I coach with. Nick Chubbs, it was just like it was easy for the most part. He did pretty much everything right, starting with his work habits. And it's easy to try to find something because he didn't have many glaring things. The thing about Nick was that the toughest thing was to get him to press the hose a little bit longer. And I thought he did a heck of a job of that my 5th year in working with him. He was averaging, going into that year, I told him he needed to average over 6 yards a carry because we were going to be throwing the ball and he wasn't going to get as many attempts. But I still had aspirations for him to gain 1,600 yards. So the only way to do that was to increase his average. And unfortunately, he got hurt in the second game of the season, but he was still over 6 yards a carry. And in that first half, he was over 6 yards a carry. And that was probably a game in which he had the opportunity to have his first 200-yard game just because of the way the first quarter had gone.
Stump, I was going to say that must have been tough for you watching him, obviously, this year, coming back after the injury that he had. And then I thought he was on his way back and then to get injured again. But knowing Nick the way you do, and obviously you know how well liked he is here in Cleveland, is it going to, obviously it's going to be a little tough for him to come back, but do you foresee any problems with him coming back and being the old Nick Chubb?
No, I don't. I took a look at that first touchdown that he scored. Even though it was only a 2-yard run, there was so much he had to do. He had to stop all of a sudden, make a jump cut, and then change directions again. So I thought Nick possessed everything that he did in the past. Even though it was a 2-yard run, I could see everything that he did. He spent most of his time there with the Cleveland trainers, and those guys are just unbelievable. Joe Sheehan and the guys that he have there, and also the guys in the strength and conditioning department there at the Browns. They have outstanding resources for Nick, and I thought he did a great job in terms of being ready to get back and play well.
Stump, talk a little bit about that running back room. I didn't know that Ford was as fast as he is. You know, anytime you run away from defensive backs, I say, damn, I mean, that's showing you have some speed there. But talk a little bit about him and that running back room that they have over there.
Well, we drafted Jerome, so he was there. I was there when he first came in, and of course he was behind Nick and Dearness as well as Kareem. So he didn't have many opportunities, but when he did, he performed extremely well. Started out at Alabama, then he transferred to Cincinnati, where he finished. Jerome he's a quiet guy, just like Nick, but you know, he worked extremely hard, has great hands, was good in pass blocking. I thought Pierre Strong, who was drafted by the Patriots, didn't do much there in New England, and we brought him in and had an opportunity to increase his ability to read blocks better, press the holes better, and he had a little more success as a running back in Cleveland than he had in New England. But I think all of those guys has the ability to make some good plays for the Browns.
Hey, speaking of players that end up having success with other teams, what have you thought about Kareem Hunt and what he's been doing with the Chiefs?
Well, the Chiefs got a heck of a team. You know, Kareem, he's gone there and he's fit in. I mean, he hasn't done anything that those other backs hadn't done there. So he's blessed to have the opportunity to go back to where he started. Right now, he's only averaging 3.7 yards a carry, and he was there mainly as a starter once the guys got back. So they have a heck of a group of backs there as well, and Kareem is just one of them.
Talking about Kareem, obviously as a coach, you want to see all your players do well, and I know one of the statements you made that you couldn't get the best out of him, but obviously I know you tried, and you hope the new coach, if they brought him back, was going to be able to get that out of him. But talk a little bit about your statement on Kareem trying to get the best out of him.
Hanford, I was drafted in the 9th round. The 9th round don't even exist. If it wasn't for Ace Parker, I'll never forget the person that brought me into this league and the person that I tried to please every day that I went on the field. Ace Parker was a Yankee. He was a baseball player. He also played football in the National Football League. Ace Parker did a whole heck of a lot, but the most important thing Ace did for me was to make sure that I knew he believed in me and to try to get the best out of me. I didn't want to let him down. I've seen a lot in Kareem. And I can tell you that I wanted to distinguish myself from the coaches that had coached Kareem. I wanted to get the most out of him because they didn't get the most out of Kareem. I did not get the most out of Kareem. That's one thing I will go down. I didn't distinguish myself from anybody else, but I tried. But all the players, you was a player, Hanford, know, back in the day, we bust our butts.
Absolutely.
Everybody bust their butt. I look at my time with the Browns, and some of the games that were lost was because my position didn't perform as well as they could have. But if a person don't perform as well as they could have, and they out there busting their butt every day,
you could take
then that's part of life.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of the game. Take a look at the Ravens game yesterday. Andrews, I mean, a hell of a player, but he had 2 crucial mistakes. But you know that he busts his butt.
Yeah.
Lamar even said it. He busts his butt. So you don't have a problem with guys like that because we're all human. But you have to go out every day and try to perform to the best of your abilities in practice as well as in the games.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I was just talking to someone this morning about Mark Andrews, and he reminds me, of Ernest Bonner when we were playing in the championship game, and Ernest fumbled that football, and I would be the first to tell anyone, I don't care. We win as a team, we lose as a team, and without Ernest Bonner, we wouldn't have been back in that ball game. So and Andrews, I mean, he's dealing with a lot anyway. I mean, since 9 years old. I think this kid he was diabetes or something. I think he's been going through. A lot of people don't know that, but he's been dealing with that. But let me ask you about Bill Callahan. What was it like coaching with him? Because obviously when he was there, he had that offensive line rocket.
Hey, you do not let Bill Callahan out of the building.
Right.
Okay. There's unless you're going to get something like a Sean Payton deal. If I'm getting some draft picks or something like that, then maybe. I hadn't heard about those. But other than that, you do not let Bill Callahan out of the building. Yes, he want to work with his son. Okay, I can dig that. But he still have a contract. And if the one thing you know about Bill Callahan, he's going to work his butt off. He can join his son when his contract is over. Because of the injuries that those players, especially the offensive line, were going to be returning with, you do not want to put those guys in a new system because they cannot practice in that system until it's almost time for the first regular season game. Therefore, they're not going to have the reps. You know, DeJuan, he wasn't going to have the reps in a new system. Joe, which is okay because Joe's a veteran. He'll adapt more so than anybody. Mm-hmm. But Jed, Jack Conklin, those guys, they were just not going to have the time that it took for them to be efficient both in the run game and the passing game in a new system. So you keep Bill Callahan there unless you're getting a lot of draft picks for him. Other than that, he's going to coach. He'll coach his contract out, and then he may leave. But the Browns would have been a lot more successful because those players, even though they would be coming back from injury, they would have had a lot of reps, game reps in the system that they would have been performing in this past season.
I think some coaches are built to call plays, and I was a little bit shocked when Kevin Stefanski gave up the play calling. Now that he's brought in a new offensive coordinator, what's your feelings? You think maybe he should start calling the plays again?
Well, first of all, I feel bad for Ken Dorsey. Mm-hmm. Okay, because Dorsey never had a chance to call the plays for Deshaun. So you can't say that system was around Deshaun. Kevin can't call plays for Ken. I mean, everybody's going to call the game totally different. And Dorsey, I think, called the game a whole heck of a lot better for Jameis than it was called for Deshaun. I mean, I just don't think it was fair for Deshaun or for Ken.
Stump, were you shocked when because you had been with the Browns since 2019? Were you shocked when you found out that you wasn't going to be the running back coach anymore?
Well, I was shocked, first of all, when TC came in and told me that he wasn't going to be the tight ends coach anymore, that he had been released. And shortly after that, Kevin came in my office and said he wanted to go in a different direction as well. So it's fine. No, I'm not shocked because I've been a head coach before. Unfortunately for me, it's only been at 2 HBCUs in the programs that I took over at the particular time. They were not where they needed to be. But I strived and I worked and I made some sacrifices. I did some things to do what I had to do. So I understand when you have to move on away from coaches. So for whatever reason, Kevin wanted to move on from me. That's fine. That's his prerogative. Was I shocked? Yeah, I was shocked because the guys that I coached, for the most part, they went out and they played. But there's also a situation where I had players drop a screen pass in against the Falcons, and if he execute the screen right, then he's going to score a touchdown. I had a player in the Detroit game. We make a big third down, and he's called for holding. So that's my responsibility. That's my player. So no, it didn't shock me, but because I'm liable, you know. But that was my player.
But
he didn't do his job.
Yeah, but here's the thing that drives me crazy. I mean, it's not your fault. I mean, you can't. You can coach them. You can put them in the right position to make the plays and do the right thing. But you can't play for them. I mean, you can't make. I mean, as a player, I mean, I understand that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
but I was more shocked by Alex Van Pelt getting let go because he had the pulse of the offense. Guys worked their butt off. They did extremely well. But more so than anything, talking about coaches, for the worst thing, I think, for the Browns organization, for the Browns, for the coaches, for everybody, was for Joe Flacco not to be brought back.
Right.
It was just unbelievable walking into that building. I used to get in there 5:15, 5:30 every day, every morning. Joe would be in there at 6 o'clock. I mean, you're talking about an older guy that had won a Super Bowl, know what winning is all about. The way he lifted that entire organization was unbelievable. And to not bring him back, I could not believe that. I just couldn't believe that.
Stump, you clearly have so much passion for the game still, and are you interested in continuing to coach? What are you up to now?
Well, right now, the only thing I've been doing, because I played the game so long, really, I just been rehabbing my body, old injuries. Hannaford know about that. You never get rid of them. So that's all I've been doing. If given the opportunity to coach again, of course, I would love to coach. But, I'm 65 right now, still feel energetic enough to coach, but I don't know if that opportunity is going to present itself. But I know the guys that I've been around there in Cleveland, those guys that were on that team, they were totally shocked to see the transformation of that offensive coaching staff. Those guys, when they came back, they were looking to just be on a winning streak again, and the defense suffered some because the offense wasn't prolific enough to stay on the field and give them some rest. And of course, this year, special teams didn't play as well as they had in the past.
Well, he wanted coach, and he's going to coach again. But Stump, this is the thing that kills me. A lot of people don't understand, don't realize what goes into the little job. And you hit on it a little bit, talking about being in the building at 4:30, 5 o'clock. Give her a little short thing of what that day is like and how long that day is coaching.
Well, for me, I started because I had to get an hour of cardio in just to feel good. Because you're going to be there for the most part. And then, in the afternoon for the most part, around 6 or 7:30, you get an opportunity to do the sauna and then get a chance to go back. And for me, I was about studying the defensive linemen, what those guys were going to do, and also knowing what our offensive linemen were going to do. So I wanted to pretty much paint a picture for the running backs as to how they had to press the hole, how they could set up some guys, because Clowney was a guy that we were going to be playing with against the Ravens. You could go downhill a little early, and Clowney's going to try to throw the tackle or the tight end outside and come inside. So if you just show inside a little bit, you could dip back outside on Clowney. I wanted to try to run the runs before the guys and give them an idea of what was going to happen. I can recall on a Wednesday telling Pierre Strong, look, this tackle we got over here, at some point in time, you're going to have to be able to sit inside and take on this defensive end. And he's probably going to run you over because he's going to come with a head full of steam. You can't cut him because that tackle is going to turn back inside and he's going to have his hands on him. I said, and if he has his hands on him, now you're looking at a $10,000 or $20,000 fine for a high-low block. And I said, so when this happened and they see you get run over in the team meeting, don't even worry about it because we've already talked about it. And no joke, that's exactly what happened. But I was so proud of Pierre that he stood in there, took on the block, got knocked down, but the quarterback was able to complete the pass.
Hey, Stump, you become famous for that beard, big dog. Tell us about that beard.
Well, you know what? It's the only thing I can control. There's not too many opportunities where running back coaches get an opportunity to do anything other than be running back coaches. That's why I had the opportunity to go at Morgan State to be a head coach and also at Southern University to be a head coach, because I understand the entire makeup of what you got to do. I understand complementary football. So I had an opportunity to go there, and at a HBCU, it's totally different, especially when I was there. I, for the most part, had to be the general manager and the head coach and do all the things to get the programs back in a position where somebody could come in after I did and achieve a whole heck of a lot more in terms of wins and losses than I did. But I made that sacrifice because I wanted the opportunity to be a head coach.
Well, let me say this before I let him go. I got to say this. Everybody know I'm from Mobile, Alabama. Went to Southern Miss, but I'm a huge Roll Tide fan.
Oh,
and
yeah.
his son played quarterback for Nick Saban. I think it was 2005 and 2006. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Roll Tide, roll.
Yeah, and you know what? The thing about Nick, what people don't understand is that with discipline, you can achieve success. It's no question about that. But without it, you're bound to fail. And I love the heck out of Nick because he called me down to Mobile, Alabama a couple times. My son just wouldn't do the right thing, wouldn't do the right thing. And I was coaching in Seattle at that point in time. So it was at the Senior Bowl. We had conversations. By the time I landed back in Seattle, Nick had already left a voicemail on my phone saying, Stump, you know what? I want to put Lionel off, but I just can't do it because I understand the situation. We're going to try to help him. We're going to try to help him. That happened a couple times. The third time, Nick said, Stump, if I don't put him off, I'm going to lose the team. And that's exactly the truth. I mean, you have love and everything for these players, but if you can't get them to do the right thing, at some point, you got to part ways with them.
Big Dog, we appreciate you.
Stump, we really
Thanks for having
appreciate all of your self-awareness and insight, and just the 30 years of NFL experience you have both as a player and a coach is so apparent and so poignant for us to have on our show. So thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
You've got a podcast, too. Check it out. It's called Stump Talks.
Yes, I appreciate it.
Okay, you got it,
All
my
right.
friend.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right.
We'll be back with more Hanford Dixon Show right after this. Welcome back to the Hanford Dixon Show. We've got a friend of show in studio today. We're talking with Dustin Cook of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. You're super familiar. Thanks for coming in, by the way.
Absolutely. Great to see you, Gab.
Super familiar with the Browns backers and running a podcast covering a 3-14 team. So you're in the trenches like Hanford and I throughout the season where it can get a little tough.
Yeah, before you ask Dustin your question, he only comes on when he want to plug his podcast. And I,
don't you worry, we'll make sure we get that plug.
He thinks you and I don't realize this. We understand and know. The only time he want to come on the show is when he want to plug that damn Here We Go Brownies podcast of his. We don't mind plug. What's the young lady name that's on there with you? Allie. We like Allie, but we Dustin. Shit. Go ahead, Gabby. I'm sorry.
Listen, Hanford's roasts do not just apply to me. It's everybody. So no one is safe, Dustin.
Some people say I'm no good. I'm crazy as can be. I get stoned in the morning. I get drunk in the afternoon. But I ain't asking nobody for nothing if I can't get it on my own. If you don't like the way I'm living, leave this short-haired country boy alone, goddammit.
It's his show. We let him do this. And honestly,
Fair.
lately it's been happening anytime in the show. It's not just reserved for the ending.
Right.
That was our singing intro, once again, for Dustin coming in. Here We Go Brownies podcast. We've plugged it. We're plugging it. And we do want to ask you, we'll talk a little football here. We want to get your thoughts on perspective, who we think could fill in at the quarterback or be at the quarterback position and get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so Allie and I have this kind of running joke. The Browns give us plenty of material to talk about because it seems like there's always something's dropping. So it's very interesting. Like, you think we don't have a lot to talk about, but at times it seems like a lot because there's this coach getting let go or that's going on or there's all these rumblings. But I think the quarterback position is going to be the biggest thing that the Browns will be talking about, the media, the national media will be talking about, is the fact, do you go with a bridge quarterback? Do you take a hit at the top of the draft? Do you get one in the second round? Do you let people call, move down, accumulate? I mean, the Browns are probably in the best position in a draft that they've been in 5 years, and I think Andrew Berry's got to get this right. Like, he has to hit on some of these guys And this is important for not only Coach Stefanski, but also Andrew Berry in this front office.
Well, I
People
have
are
to.
saying, you know, like maybe it's not the time or the draft for the quarterback.
Well, you know, I hear you and I hear them, what they say, but obviously they will know a lot better than we do because they're the ones that are sitting there and dissecting these guys each and every day, talking about the two guys that are at the top of the board. But, you know, I enjoyed the conversation we had with Stump Mitchell. And I thought he made a very interesting point during that conversation when he said that he was really surprised that we didn't bring back Joe Flacco. And I was very surprised, too, because everybody can say what they want to say about Joe Flacco. You're talking about a guy that's won a Super Bowl, talking about a guy that really just had this team so excited. And obviously he's going to throw an interception here and there, but so is Jameis. I mean, when Jameis came here, I mean, you pretty much had the same thing. And I was shocked that we didn't bring back Flacco. But Dustin, my question to you is, obviously Deshaun has just had a new injury to that old injury and this was not football related. That was pretty interesting. What was your thoughts when you heard about it?
So it's kind of interesting. So Allie's husband's an orthopedic surgeon. So we have like a medical minute where he literally comes on and talks like he does these injuries in the Navy. And, you know, he fixes guys like this. And he's like, it seemed if he was out of his boot, again, if he's in his boot, he said, and this is very interesting, the chances of re-aggravating that in athletes is less than 5%. So the fact that he physically had this happen to him, he felt as an expert, medical expert, that he had to be out of the boot, maybe a little earlier than possible, and did just what he said. He twisted his, you know, doing something he probably wasn't supposed to. And he brought up a really valid point. When you have a surgery, half of that is the doctor fixing the problem medically. The other half is the very strict guidelines you're given by that doctor. By the way, do not do this, do this therapy, and then the boot comes off. And so he said, based on that, it feels like he was maybe rushing it or something wasn't adding up based on the lineage of where he should be in his recovery. Because he goes, if you're following protocol, this shouldn't happen. Like literally for that to happen was in a rare state. And I think that's why a lot of people were shocked. Like, how did he re-injure it? Like he was in a boot and all that. So it's very interesting to see where this all comes. I know there's all these conspiracy theorists out there that believe this or that. But from a medical standpoint, he definitely, if he's following protocol, that should not have happened.
Yeah, Gab, I can't wait to see what's going to happen with that whole thing because my understanding, and again, I don't know this, but my understanding is if this is a non-football related injury, you know, maybe we can get some relief somewhere with on that salary. I got a question for you guys, and I'm going to jump in here and answer it too. Pat, I don't know if you have your mic hooked up, but I would like to hear your thoughts on this one too. You know, guys, for so long now, you looking at the league, they had devalued the running back position. But you look now, I mean, this thing right now, man, with Derrick Henry, with the Baltimore Ravens, you look at the kid right now with Philly right now, and all these running backs now are coming back into the fold because, you know, for a while here, especially for the last few years, the running backs can only get a certain amount of money.
I would be tickle pink if my boy fell down to the Browns.
Yeah. You know what? You love that kid. That kid is something. Tell us who your boy is.
So Ashton Genty, if anybody knows, should have won the Heisman Trophy race. This kid was 20-some yards from breaking Barry Sanders' college football rushing record. People put 8 men in the box on him, and he still got over 100 yards every single game. I think he's once in a generational type of person, just like Derrick Henry is.
Yeah.
That if the Browns trade down, he's probably there at 9 or 10. And if you get more picks, get a quarterback at the top of the second, and you already have your bridge quarterback set, Browns are back to the 8, 9, 10 wins, right? Like they can compete again. To your point, it's the AFC North. You run it down people's throat in November and December. That's what the Baltimore Ravens did.
Is Nick Chubb coming back, guys? Will he be back at full threat?
You know, I was kind of encouraged by what Stump had to say. I really liked his insight only because, you know, we're on the outside. There are observations that we make as analysts or fans, and you're more inside the building than most, but Stump is right there next to it. And I think his analysis, both from the Flacco input on, you see the character of people and the energy that they really bring to the team and how invaluable that is. But also about Nick Chubb. He had a front row seat to see how Nick was recovering, and he was able to evaluate that post, seeing Nick Chubb now in real time. And I don't know, I thought that was very encouraging.
But guys, Saquon Barkley.
Oh,
this kid.
the Barkley show.
The things that he's doing. He's just running away from guys. What did he have? Like over 200 yards yesterday in that big game. It's just unbelievable.
I was saying on the Big Play Cleveland show, he was just running up my sister's parlay money because I don't get lucky, so I can't even bet on this stuff.
Yeah, you stay away from that.
Bree's really into it.
Is she?
And she's got a spreadsheet. She's got Barkley. She's got, she's stacking so many things. But yeah, thanks to him, I know she got a little extra cash out of it.
And then Derrick Henry. Let's get on those Ravens.
Oh.
I feel so bad for my boy.
I know. I know you guys haven't even talked yet.
I really, really feel bad for him and the Baltimore Ravens because if we were not going to be in this thing talking about the Browns, I wanted to see a team in the AFC North be in the playoffs and possibly the Super Bowl. And we had one team left, and that was the Baltimore Ravens. And, guys, I have to tell you this. The best team, I think, didn't win that game yesterday, talking about between the Baltimore Ravens. And I just think the Baltimore Ravens should have beat should have won that ball game.
Well, you always say they beat themselves. The fumble, the turnovers. If you lose that game.
And Josh Allen, what did he have? He didn't even have 150 yards passing, I don't think.
Didn't need it because of the turnovers and the fumbles.
And
You always say you're if you're good and you beat yourself, it's your own fault, right? At that end of the day.
But you know what I really liked and I thought was really great? Did you see at the end of the game where Josh Allen and Lamar went up to each other? And that just really made me feel really good. And because, Lamar was feeling really low at that point. And I can't imagine what Josh said to him. But it must have been pretty encouraging for those two guys to walk up to each other and just embrace like that.
Yeah, I think that's a cool part of the game. Who is your NFL quarterback MVP?
I'm gonna have to go with the Lamar Jackson. I think and by the way, that game did not influence anyone because the votes were already in before that game yesterday. So I think Lamar Jackson was the MVP, and I still. If you watch Lamar, here's how you judge an MVP. You're talking about a guy that has won the award twice. Okay, here you go. At the end of the ball game, I think there's 3 minutes and 30 seconds or something like that left in the ball game. The Ravens are down 8 points, and you get the ball on the 15, somewhere around the 15 to 18-yard line. Should have been on the 30. That's why that guy was nuts running the ball back out of the end zone. And you had it. One of the guys standing there telling him to stay in the end zone so we can get the ball to 30. Oh, no, he wanted to run the ball out. And then they had a flag. They call holding, so they get the ball on about the 15-yard line. And Lamar Jackson, you're telling him, hey, you have 2 MVPs. We need 8 points. Show me what you could do. He takes the Baltimore Ravens down, I think, for about 2 minutes. He used 2 minutes. Take the Baltimore Ravens all the way down and scored the touchdown. And he needed a 2-point conversion. Should have had the 2-point conversion, but Mark Andrews dropped the ball in the end zone. And by no means am I saying anything bad about Andrews because I like that kid. I'm telling you, he's an excellent. He's an
Lamar executed.
Yeah. My point is, you're exactly right. Lamar executed, but Mark Andrews, I still like him and I love him. I'm gonna tell you that I'm gonna compare that to another story in an AFC Championship game when we come back that we had.
We got to take a break. Thanks again, Dustin Cook. Here we go, Brownies podcast for being in studio. We'll be back with more Hanford Dixon show right after this. Welcome back to the Hanford Dixon Show. Today's Browns headlines are brought to you by Northeast Factory Direct. If you're like me, you know how important your sleep is. Northeast Factory Direct can help with that because they're the place to go and buy your next mattress. They have memory foam, latex, even organic mattresses, and for way less than what you'll find at those fancy retail stores. Hanford. You can shop online at northeastfactorydirect.com or visit any of their stores in Cleveland, Euclid, Macedonia, or North Canton. And don't forget to ask about that Hanford Dixon bonus.
Yeah, I was going to say, make sure you go over there and you see my buddy Alex over there, who is the owner, and tell him that you want the Hanford Dixon special, and he will hook you up. Gab.
Here's what I was going to ask you. The refs, all right? Because I know there are grumblings in between the show commercials, and we got to get this out. So what are your thoughts on some of the calls and the refereeing we've seen in the playoffs, specifically the Chiefs game?
Well, we have to figure out a way to get this thing right because, I get confused because you could replay and look at some of these calls and then you could change them, but some of them you can't go back to the replay and you can't change them even if they're wrong. I think the most important thing is to get the call right. I don't care. And I can understand their thinking behind some of this because they don't want to slow the game up any more than what it is. But some of these calls are just ridiculous. I mean, just totally ridiculous. For instance, let's go into the Ravens-Bills game. I mean, here you got the Bills driving. It was a crucial down where they called pass interference on the corner right down by the goal line, and which kept a drive alive for the Buffalo Bills, and they went on to score a touchdown. And that was a very, very crucial play. And when you go back and when you look at the play, they showed it over and over again. There was no way was that pass interference. I mean, there was absolutely not pass interference. See, a play like that, you should be able to go back and take a look at it. And if it's not pass interference or if it's not a penalty, you should be able to change it, especially in a big game like the game yesterday. Also, go back to look at the Texans game. I mean, Texans, Houston, and the Kansas City Chiefs game. Will Anderson. I mean, here's a guy. Where do you go to school, Pat?
Mamma Jamma Yella Hammer.
Oh, you got it. But you
Yep,
got
that's
it.
right.
But and boy, is he having a good year. I mean, he is just having a great year. And that defense over there, they're playing really well. But they call him on a hit on Mahomes. I mean, he didn't touch him, guys. I mean, he didn't touch him. And I understand you're trying to protect the quarterback. And those officials, I think they're told anything that looked like it's a personal foul or a hit on the quarterback, you're supposed to throw the flag. But you should be able to go back and take a look at it because those guys, they're human. They make mistakes. And if it's a mistake, you should be able to take that and go back and say, hey, this was not a penalty and let's move on from this. But oh no, they still call it a penalty. It's just things that I think we need to go back and correct this. And the man to do it is my buddy Roger Goodell. But, it is what it is. And speaking of Roger, guys, I have to say this about him. I made this little note. He was on Bloomberg TV, and he said that there's a possibility that they may add another game. I know Pat's over there shaking his head on this one, but
18 games, guys.
Yeah, it will be 18 regular season games.
Come on.
And he said that.
How many are we going to do?
You know what he said? He said that will be the logical next step in this thing. Can you imagine 18 games? Now think about this scenario. If you're going to add another game, I mean, is there a possibility you're going to add another bye? You might have another bye week or something like that, or it's just crazy. I mean, I can't imagine having another game on the schedule. But I had to toss that little thing in between.
Would you, how if you were playing today, would you like that news, or how would you feel about it?
I wouldn't like. I don't think I want to play another game, but obviously I know what's at stake here. It's just more money for the owners, and you know, it's not like those guys don't have enough money. But I got to say this too, and I want you and I were going to talk about the Mark Andrews thing when we come back, because you asked me about the feeling, that whole feeling. Remember, I told you guys I had a little something I wanted to share, but we'll talk about that when we come back.
Great teaser. We'll be back with more Hanford Dixon Show right after this. Welcome back to the Hanford Dixon Show. It's time to go around the AFC North, brought to you by Garage Beer. I know we kind of left on a cliffhanger. You wanted to talk a little bit about Mark Andrews and the fumble and kind of like what happened after the fact.
Yeah, you know, I really feel bad for him, because my understanding is because of the fumble that he had, and because of the he dropped the ball on the 2-point conversion, that a lot of people have been not calling him, but giving him a hard time, death threats, things like this. And this poor guy, man, this guy never fumbles. I mean, never fumbles and never drops a pass. I mean, he is when Lamar is in trouble, Lamar Jackson looked for Mark Andrews. I mean, that's how tight these two guys are. And they tried to get Lamar to say at the end of the game that it was Mark Andrews' fault. He would not do that. He's like, he's looking at him like, are you guys crazy? But this guy is such a trooper. He's such a warrior. A lot of people don't know this. At age 9, he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And every time he come out of the game pad, you know, he goes and sit on the bench, and check his
he's got to check his blood sugar.
Sugar, yeah.
Imagine trying to think about that, what pass route you're going to run, and you have got low blood sugar.
Oh, yeah,
right.
sure,
Incredible.
Yeah.
But look, I'm telling you, this guy is a warrior, man. And I hate the Ravens loss, but by no way is it Mark Andrews' fault. I'll tell you this. We played a game. We were playing Denver in the AFC Championship game, and I think this game was in Denver. And we had fought to come back like that. And Ernest Biner was taking the football. He was running. He was crossing over the goal line. As soon as he crossed over the goal line, I think one of their DBs reached a hand out and made him fumble the football. And obviously, we didn't get that touchdown. So pretty much the same thing was happening to Ernest Biner. You had a lot of fans that was really. I don't think social media wasn't as prominent as it is now, sure. But a lot of people was giving him a hard time, and I'm sure he had some death threats and things like that. But one thing we always said: we win as a team, we lose as a team. It doesn't matter, because I thought Ernest Biner in that ball game, he had just a great game, and without him, we would not have even been in the ball game. So
people are quick to forget about that.
Yeah.
And probably with the advent of social media, it's a lot harder.
And I think you have a friend that
someone pretty close to me got the opportunity out of Division III football to end up playing in the NFL and at a higher level. And from my understanding, you know, there's plays that he remembers, like one in particular, a dropped pass,
absolutely.
You know, and he was catching it from Patrick Mahomes, and like, and it's funny, you know, you hear it from a player's perspective, and it's like, it's so tough because you're getting death threats and all these flooding of messages and all the things that come after it, especially for someone who wasn't used to the big stage like that. It kind of feels a little unfair for us to always just cast away, you know, oh, they'll get over it. They're just do your job, like blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, there's too many instances of every player has that moment where something doesn't go their way. And we forget about that piece of the game where they're still human beings.
Yeah, and I would never. I don't care. I just would never blame someone because of something like that. And again, that's why you call football the ultimate team sport, because again, we're all together. We win together. We lose together, and that's why we play this game.
We got to take a break, Hanford. We'll be back with more Hanford Dixon Show right after this. Welcome back to the Hanford Dixon Show. It's time for our Lipton Hard Iced Tea hard hit of the game. And, you know, we were talking about it, but I feel like it could be considered Chris Boyd's helmet throw to the ground and coach shove. That's a hit.
That's definitely the hard hit of the game. I mean,
a hard hit to the ego, too, to have a player just come at you. It's like, damn.
Gab, I'm telling you, I am still in shock of that. I mean, and not only did he hit him and pushed him, wasn't he yelling at him or something?
Yeah,
or,
he was.
did you?
To him, he was turned up. You know, it was no disrespect or whatever.
Yeah, it was right. It was the first play of the game. I mean, something like that. I mean, how do you get that turned
First
up?
play of the game.
I understand
First play of the game.
I understand what you're saying.
He had
I
a
mean,
lot to get out of his system, apparently. You know, he was
oh
playing with the
my
nerves and the hype.
God, that was
Might have
ridiculous.
drank maybe he drank a Lipton hard iced tea before he got a little.
That was definitely a Lipton hard hit of the game. But me personally, I thought you were. Did you go out to Mercedes-Benz Stadium?
No.
I thought you had went out to Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, to the big game, Ohio State. And who is Ohio State playing? Notre Dame. What's wrong with me? But I thought you had maybe went out to the game out there. But that's all right. I'll leave you alone on that one. I will leave you alone on that one. Big games coming up, Gap. Big games coming up.
Yes.
Big
So,
games coming up.
Did you have a hard hit, by the way, or?
Yeah, we're just going to stick with that.
Okay, mine.
Yes, absolutely.
How about Bills at Chiefs? Because we could do a little playoff talk here. Is the Bills defense good enough to slow down Mahomes?
Boy, that's going to be tough. I mean, it's going to be tough. Obviously, they have to go into Kansas City and play these guys. And Bills have to do more than what they did against the Baltimore Ravens. You could say what you want to say about Mahomes. I don't think he's clicking on all cylinders right now, but still, he is Mahomes. And this guy, his football team, his players, they really rally around him. Everybody was talking about Travis Kelce, and he wasn't having any big games, but boy, did he show up. I think he went over 100 yards receiving. And I wanted to ask you this. Did you see all the Swifties or Taylor Swift at that game?
We didn't get a chance to talk about that.
And did you see who her buddy was in the stands with her?
Duh.
She had Caitlin Clark right there with her. I thought that was so cool. And then Taylor will put something over her mouth when she get ready to talk.
Yeah.
But
she doesn't want to be misinterpreted on any of these viral.
Hey, she was drinking a little cocktail too.
Mm-hmm. She's living in her element. Yeah. Honestly, girl power. Look at those two star-studded women.
I actually like both of them. I thought that was good. But to answer your question real quick, I think Kansas City will win that ball game. I think they'll go back to the Super Bowl again. That's a three-peat, I think, what they're going to try to do. So that's going to be good.
On the NFC side of things, Commanders at Eagles. What do the Commanders have to do to pull off the upset this week?
Well, this is a question.
Who do you think's going to win?
This is a question I've been asking myself. I mean, do I think Daniels, this rookie quarterback, is going to do it? And you know what I say? Hell yeah, he's going to do it. This kid is playing well. He's playing with a lot of confidence, and his boys, you could just tell, they want it. They want it. They want it. Those guys are playing extremely well. But again, you look at Philadelphia, and I thought you got Barkley. I mean, this kid, every time he touches the ball, he's a threat to take it all the way. And Jalen, I'm just so glad he's not hurt, because did you see in that one particular play, guys, Pat, Gab, where he bent his knee back? I thought he was going to be out of the ball game, but you could tell how tough he is. But if I had to pick a winner for this ball game, I'm going to go with the rookie quarterback, Daniels. I think he is going to upset the Philly team. I think he will. Right. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes down, but I can't wait to watch. It's must-see TV or must-see football, guys.
It's crunch time, baby. We'll be back with more Hanford Dixon Show. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Hanford Dixon Show. We're wrapping up our show.
I'm laughing at Pat.
Hanford's laughing at me already. Yeah. He's laughing at me already, man.
I wish I could tell you guys what I'm laughing about the big dog over there. You know, hey, we never give him enough credit, guys.
We don't.
We never give him.
Oh, yes, you do.
We never give him enough credit. You know,
we love you guys.
Without the big dog, I mean, we would be lost in this show, and we thank him, and we're giving
really
him a lot of credit here. But I was so laughing. He's like, Hanford, get out of this show. Get out. It's time to go.
We got to roll this. Pat is a consummate professional, so entertaining, and obviously
appreciate you guys.
one of the absolute goats.
Can you take us out?
I'm just a teenage dirtbag,
That's
baby.
the song, baby.
That's the one.
That's it.
I forgot what we were gonna go out on.
Yeah, with the
I remember it.
teenage dirtbag.
Like
Speaking of
singers,
singing-
Hayden
speaking
Grove,
of
right?
singing, Hayden Grove.
Cleveland's own.
We just wanted to give a shout out to Hayden Grove, a friend of mine, and Cleveland sports reporter.
Oh yeah.
Tons of work for Cleveland.com.
Awesome.
He has his opportunity on The Voice.
Awesome.
That'll be debuting soon. So just want to give Hayden a shout
We're
out.
behind ya.
Congratulations, buddy. I remember when him and I actually auditioned for America's Got Talent way back in 2016. And I didn't even really get to audition. I waited there 8 hours, and I got into this room, and there weren't even any judges, and everyone went at the same time. It was so bizarre. But I met a really good friend of mine in the process of doing so. Hayden, we're so excited that you have had this opportunity, and we're pulling for you. Congrats.
I'm gone.
You're out of here?
I'm out of here.
He's out of here. No singing for
I'm
him.
not rushing you out of here, Hanford.
Yes,
Don't
yes, you're-
even give me that.
You're
Don't even give me that.
Some people say I'm
No good. I'm crazy as could be. I get drunk in the morning. I get stoned in the afternoon. But we ain't asking nobody for nothing. And
Yep, we got to get out of here.
can- Bye.
Listen, we'll see you next week. You better give me that
Bye,
bark.
Bye.